There was a time when being a man meant something. Not about money, not about muscles, not about how many followers you have, but about who you are when no one's watching. Your integrity, your discipline, your purpose. That's what made you a man. But today, the world has forgotten what a real man looks like. They tell you to be softer, to be quiet, to fit in. They tell you masculinity is toxic, that strength is dangerous, that leadership is outdated. And so we've built a generation of men who are lost. Men without fire, without vision, without backbone. Let me tell you something, brother. Being a man isn't about being loud. It's about being solid, unshakable. You don't need to shout to prove your worth. You prove it by showing up. By doing what needs to be done even when nobody says thank you. By standing tall when life tries to crush you. The average man today thinks he needs therapy to deal with his pain. But most men don't need therapy. They need gratitude. They need someone to recognize the battles they fight quietly every single day. The pressure to provide. The sleepless nights. The sacrifices no one ever sees. That weight you carry. It's heavy because it matters. But you, my friend, were not born to break. You were born to carry, to protect, to lead, to serve. A real man is not born to make money. He's born to make meaning. To leave something behind that says, because I lived, someone else's life is better. That's what it means to serve, to provide, to protect, to teach, to guide, and sometimes to step back and let those you love fall. Because you know that's how they grow. A real man doesn't control. He builds trust. He doesn't demand respect. He earns it. And he doesn't quit when it hurts. He keeps going because it's his job to finish. Men today are obsessed with being perfect. The six-pack, the car, the luxury life. But listen, none of that matters if your soul is bankrupt. You can't buy peace. You can't buy self-respect. You can't buy meaning. You've got to find balance. Because when the world tells you to chase success, a real man chases purpose. When the world says be happy, a real man says be responsible. Because responsibility, that's where meaning lives. And I know you've been tired. You've been beaten down. Maybe the world hasn't been fair, but fairness isn't the point. Strength is. You see, being a man is not about never falling. It's about standing back up every single time. Let me ask you something. Do you even like yourself anymore? When was the last time you looked in the mirror and said, I like that man? Not because of your body, not because of your job, but because you know deep down you've done your best. You've fought your battles. You've learned from your scars. And you've stayed true to your word. Too many men live hating themselves. They break promises to their own soul. They say tomorrow I'll change, but tomorrow never comes. Every time you hit snooze, every time you cheat on your goals, you're teaching yourself one thing: I can't trust me. You are that friend who keeps showing up late to his own life. And that stops today, because liking yourself doesn't come from comfort. It comes from discipline. It comes from keeping your word even when nobody sees it. It comes from knowing that your strength is quiet, your power is calm, and your value doesn't need validation. A real man finds peace in responsibility. He's calm in chaos, firm in truth. He doesn't run from pain. He transforms it into power. You want to like yourself? Start becoming the man you admire. Find someone you respect, someone who carries wisdom, honesty, kindness, and take those qualities for your own. Then live them. Because one day you'll wake up and realize you've become the kind of man you once looked up to. And when that happens, you won't need anyone to clap for you. You won't need the world's approval. Because you'll look in the mirror and say, I like me, I respect me. And that's enough. You see, arrogance is pride mixed with ignorance. But confidence is knowing your flaws, your scars, your pain, and still standing proud, still saying, I'm a good man. I've failed, but I've learned. I've fallen, but I've risen. That's real strength. That's what a real man looks like. The world doesn't need more weak men. It needs men who can balance strength and softness, who can be warriors when needed and gentle when it matters. Because strength without wisdom destroys, but strength with love, that's leadership. So stand up, fix your posture, look life in the eye, and say it with your chest. I am a man. I will not run. I will not bow. I will not quit. Because real men don't run from the storm, they become the storm. A man who cannot control himself, cannot lead anyone, not his family, not his team, not even his own future, because self-control is the foundation of strength. And without discipline, every dream collapses under the weight of your own emotions. You can lift weights, you can build your body, you can work 60 hours a week, but if you lose your temper over small things, if you let your emotions control your actions, you're still weak, you're a slave to yourself. A real man learns to master his emotions, not suppress them. He doesn't explode when things don't go his way. He pauses, he breathes, he waits until he's calm enough to respond with reason, not rage. That's power, that's maturity, that's leadership, because any fool can raise his voice, but only a wise man can stay silent when silence is strength. A real man knows being calm doesn't make you weak, it makes you dangerous. Because the one who stays calm when the world burns, that's the man everyone looks to when it's time to rebuild. You see, being a man isn't about being perfect. It's about being measured. About acting with intention instead of impulse. You don't need to respond to every insult, every disrespect, every challenge. The moment you learn to control your reactions, you take back control of your life. And here's the truth, worship. You can't control the world. You can't control people. You can't control outcomes. But you can always control you. The man who learns to control his emotions, his habits, his mind, he becomes unstoppable. He becomes a man of discipline. And discipline is what separates men from boys. A real man wakes up early even when he doesn't want to. He works when no one's watching. He does what's right, not what's easy. He builds habits that shape his destiny. Discipline is freedom. It's what allows you to stand firm when life tests you. It's what keeps you moving when motivation fades. And it's what reminds you, you were made for more than comfort. Men today chase pleasure because they're afraid of pain. They scroll endlessly, they drink, they escape, all to avoid the truth. The greatest pain in life isn't struggle. It's regret, and regret always comes for those who ran from their responsibility. So my brother, face it. Face the hard things. The world won't hand you peace. You must earn it. You must be willing to do what others won't, to fight the battles no one sees, and to stay disciplined even when no one claps for you. Because that's what a man does. He doesn't do it for applause. He does it because it's his duty. Now listen carefully. Strength isn't just physical. It's moral. It's emotional. It's spiritual. The true test of a man isn't how much he can lift. It's how much he can endure. How much pain he can carry without losing compassion. How many disappointments he can face without becoming bitter. How many battles he can fight and still choose peace when the fight is over. That's grace. That's control. That's real power. A real man never insults others to feel strong. He doesn't need to. His strength is quiet. His words carry weight because his actions prove them true. He doesn't dominate through fear. He leads with respect, and when he speaks, people listen. Not because they're afraid, but because they trust him. That's the art of leadership. It's not about barking orders. It's about inspiring others to follow willingly. It's about making those around you want to rise with you. It's about lifting, not controlling. You know, in a world full of arrogance and ego, humility is a superpower. The real man doesn't need to prove he's right. He needs to do what's right. He listens more than he speaks. He respects even when he disagrees. He learns from everyone, even from those who have less than him. Because wisdom isn't loud. It whispers, and only the disciplined can hear it. You don't need to know everything, but you must always be willing to learn. A man who stops learning stops growing. And when you stop growing, you start dying. Slowly, quietly, from the inside. So ask yourself, are you humble enough to admit when you're wrong? Are you strong enough to say, I don't know? Because the man who can say those words, he's already stronger than most. Every real man I've ever met had something in common. They were calm. They were disciplined. And they led by example. They didn't talk about being men. They lived it. You see, masculinity isn't something you say. It's something you show in how you treat people, in how you handle pressure, in how you stay loyal even when it's hard. That's real masculinity. That's honor. That's legacy. And legacy isn't built in one day. It's built brick by brick, choice by choice, sacrifice by sacrifice. Every time you choose control over chaos, discipline over comfort, patience over pride, you're building your legacy. So stand firm. Be strong, but stay gentle. Be fearless, but stay humble. Because the world doesn't need louder men. It needs better men. Men who can protect without oppressing, lead without arrogance, and love without weakness. Be that man. The one who controls himself when others lose control. The one who stands tall when others fall apart. The one who carries himself with quiet confidence because he knows who he is. That's the kind of man the world remembers. That's the kind of man your son will look up to. That's the kind of man who turns chaos into order and weakness into strength. And if you can master that, if you can master yourself, then you can master anything. Courage. That's the one word the modern world has forgotten. Everyone wants comfort. No one wants courage. But without courage, you'll never find meaning. You'll never find purpose. You'll never become the man you were meant to be. You see, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's walking forward despite it. Every real man feels fear. Every real man doubts himself. But he moves anyway. He does what must be done even when his hands shake and his heart races. Because he knows, if he doesn't stand, no one will. A real man doesn't wait for the perfect moment. He creates it. He doesn't wait for life to get easier. He gets stronger. He doesn't blame, complain, or quit. Because he knows no one's coming to save him. No one's coming to hand him a dream. The world owes him nothing. And yet he gives everything. That's courage. To keep walking when the road breaks beneath your feet. To keep believing when no one believes in you. To keep fighting when the world tells you to surrender. You want to know what strength really is? It's not how loud you roar when you win. It's how quietly you stand when you lose. It's how you look failure in the eye and say, "You hit me hard, but I'm still here." Because a man's worth isn't measured by how many times he succeeds. It's measured by how many times he refuses to give up. So if life's beating you down right now, good. That means you're in the arena. That means you're fighting. And every scar you carry, every wound on your soul, those are proof that you tried. And that's more than most ever will. But brother, strength and courage mean nothing if you forget why you fight. You fight for your family? You fight for the people who count on you? You fight for your name, your honor, your legacy? Because the truest measure of a man isn't how much he achieves, it's how well he loves, how deeply he protects, how fiercely he shows up for those who need him. A real man never runs from responsibility. He carries it. He protects his home. He provides peace, not chaos. He teaches his sons how to stand tall and his daughters what a real man looks like. You see, being a man is not just about being strong. It's about being steady. It's about being the mountain others can lean on when the storm hits. Your woman should feel safe in your presence. Your children should look at you and see stability. Because a man's greatest strength is not in his fists. It's in his consistency. It's in his love, his leadership, his loyalty. You might not always have the right words. You might not always win every battle. But you show up every day. That's what makes you a man. And let me tell you something you won't hear enough. Forgive yourself. You've made mistakes. We all have. You failed people. You failed yourself, but you're still here. And as long as you're breathing, there's time to make things right. Forgive yourself, but don't forget the lessons. Use them. Grow from them. Turn that pain into purpose, because a real man doesn't drown in guilt. He transforms it into wisdom. There will come a day when your body grows weaker, your hair turns gray, and your fire starts to dim. But when that day comes, you'll look back and realize your legacy wasn't built in one grand moment. It was built in thousands of small ones. The days you worked when no one thanked you. The nights you stayed awake to protect or provide. The times you stood up when quitting would have been easier. That's what will live on. That's what your children will remember. Not the money, not the trophies, but the man. The steady, humble, relentless man who never stopped trying. Legacy isn't what you leave for people. It's what you leave in them. It's the strength you build in others through your example. It's the courage you pass down when they remember your words, your actions, your love. That's immortality. That's what it means to live like a real man. So when life tests you again, and it will, remember who you are. Remember that you were not built for comfort. You were built for greatness. You were built to endure. You were built to rise. Stand up. Fix your shoulders. Look forward. And walk like a man who knows his worth. Because no matter how hard life gets, a real man never stops moving forward. One day the world will forget your name. But the people you loved, they'll never forget how you made them feel. They'll never forget your courage, your patience, your strength. And when your son faces his first storm, he'll remember you. He'll remember the way you stood tall, and he'll do the same. That is the legacy of a real man.